Hello everybody, welcome to this video showing how I made my entry for the 19th annual PEEP show here in Westminster, Maryland. This is my third year participating. The last 2 years I made tumblers and they were super fun and I'm still making them, but this year I wanted to do something different and I wanted to do either a bowl, a resin bowl, or a resin sculpture. And you'll see both in this video, but I end up going with the sculpture. So this took many days. I've honestly lost track, probably over a week, because I work full time and I recently moved. And so all my stuff is kind of everywhere. But this was super fun. And as of today, the day I'm recording this, I have submitted it to the Peep Show volunteers and it's in their hands. So what I am doing is making a mold. So I have a glass vase upside down, and then I think I stole this from my son. It's his hydro bottle that I made matte black for him, but wrapping it in plastic wrap, cling wrap, just to protect it from any epoxy resin. My goal here was height. All right, and then I'm adding a tumbler to the top. Actually, if you watched my most watched video, it's of another resin sculpture, and I actually used that same tumbler, that travel mug that's on top, except back then it was purple, but I redesigned it with the American flag on it. So that's on top. I am using this super clear brand resin that I got from Amazon. It is on the thicker side, so I do have to battle bubbles, but I really liked it for this project. I didn't want something too thin because I wanted this to be relatively sturdy for the show. Now, I am not wearing gloves as I should be, so please do as I say, not as I do, but I don't really touch the resin, so I'm not terribly concerned, but you should have gloves on while you're doing this. So I mixed the maximum that I could mix in that cup, which was 10 ounces. And I regretted it. After learning the hard way this way, because I'm using 2 popsicle sticks and it was still really difficult to stir. But right here, I'm giving you a close up of, you can see the strands, so I knew it wasn't fully mixed. Anyway, for all my future pours for this sculpture, I end up doing 8 ounces in 2 separate cups. You'll see what I mean later on. But this is just a 10-ounce pour because I am actually starting by making the middle portion of the sculpture. So I found this sort of Eastery pastel colored multi-sized glitter on Amazon and just opening it up. And I am sorry that it didn't focus, but it was a really pretty color. I'm going to add that to the resin once it's right before it goes on the outer ring. So right now I'm adding an opal mix to the glitter because I want that, or to the epoxy, sorry, because I want that throughout this piece, but then I will add that pastel mix to the same resin for the outer ring. So you will see what I am doing. And let me just say, mixing glitter into resin is so incredibly therapeutic. So I'm just showing you, I found these erasers on Amazon, and those were actually part of my inspiration for this piece. Because at first, of course, I knew I didn't want to do a tumbler, but I also didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And so I was on Amazon just like looking at different Peeps stuff. And I was like, ooh, those erasers, that would be cool to mix in with resin and make something. So that's what we'll be using. And by we, I mean me. It's just me doing this. So what I have is a really, really old pizza pan that I don't use for baking at all. You've seen it in some of my older videos. But on top of the pizza pan, I have a section of a clear shower curtain liner. I know that sounds weird, but it works really well. And I have used this same exact piece of plastic so many times. But it works really well because it's on the thicker side, and it makes it much, much easier to demold the pieces once they're cured. And you'll see later in the video, I use plastic wrap and I also use a trash bag because this is the only piece of shower curtain liner I have left. And I didn't want to go out and buy more. So anyway, it's a well-loved piece of shower curtain liner. And I just cleaned it with alcohol and a coffee filter prior to this pour. So that is sitting on top of the pizza pan, and the pizza pan is just serving as my temporary mold, just to keep the resin contained while it sits and partially cures before I put it on to the other mold. So anyway, I added that glitter and did the ring, and I used to watch baking shows a lot growing up on I guess like the Food Network and stuff, and I always hated it when they left stuff in the bowl, you know, like if they were making brownies or whatever and they left batter in the bowl when they were pouring it into the pan. So anytime I bake, I make sure I try to get as much batter out as I can. Same goes with resin. I do not like to waste it if I can help it, so I definitely scraped that cup as clean as I possibly could. So my table is level, but the pizza pan is warped. So my fix for that, you'll see shortly, is that I shove a popsicle stick, I think maybe even 2 of them stacked together on, here we go, on the side that it was tilting toward, and that helps level the pizza pan back out. No big deal. So you probably saw me spritz with alcohol. That's what I have in that spray bottle with the purple top, and that helps to pop bubbles. And then I have my heat gun. It's on about a medium setting. That will also help to pop bubbles. At this point, I did not have my torch yet. Again, I was kind of in the middle of a move, and about only a quarter of my stuff came with me the first go round. So I'm using what I have, although with the torch, you have to be really careful with the plastic. So the heat gun probably was the best option here. I'm straightening out the shower curtain liner, making sure it's not wrinkled in the middle. And I'm spritzing again with alcohol. So again, this was a pretty thick resin, and you know, with all the mixing that you just naturally have to do, you're going to get bubbles. So I was trying my best to pop them without overheating the resin. I believe, so I cover it with using a storage bin right now. I used to have food nets, but they all broke. They just kind of got warped and whatever. So using a food net, or not a food net, a storage container works perfectly fine. But I will also hit it with the heat gun after maybe like 30 minutes or so. So with the flash on, this is absolutely gorgeous, and almost just looks like a sheet of ice or glass. So I let that sit for 2 hours and 45 minutes. I wrote it down, and my apartment was about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And it just depends. If you're going to try this, it's going to depend on the humidity level, which I don't know what that was, and also the viscosity of the resin, the amount of resin, the depth of the resin once you've poured it. So what you can do if you're not sure at all, is pour a little puddle of it on your workstation. Like I could have poured it there on my parchment paper, and then I could have tested it with like a popsicle stick to see how sticky it still was after certain time increments. So that is something that you can do. So I was trying to figure out the best way to transfer the piece to the top of the sculpture, and I ended up just going for it just like that. I got it relatively centered, but I think I know actually I wanted it off center a little bit because I like it. Whoops, almost lost the top cup there. I like it when sculptures are asymmetrical. So yeah. So I am just adjusting the plastic shower curtain liner, trying to make sure that the folds aren't sticking to each other. That can happen, and it's not the end of the world, but it's not my preference. So once I had it placed, well, I think I give it a little zap. Yes, I do. Medium heat, not ever high heat, just to encourage it to drip. And you don't want to see it drip right in front of your eyes unless you are looking for super duper long strands like I will do on another part of this sculpture. But I knew that for this particular piece, I did not want it to drip right in front of my eyes because I didn't want super duper long drips. I wanted nice, cascading, controlled drips. Controlled as much as you can control. So here it is, nice and close up. I hope you enjoyed watching most of the drips form. I don't think I left my camera on it terribly long. But this requires just a little bit of cleanup, and so I will start kind of picking off the parts that are super duper stringy, almost like hot glue, and just kind of fiddling with it, but we'll be demolding shortly. All right, so while that sits to continue curing, I'm going to start working on the outermost piece or portion of the sculpture. So I got a little bit smarter, and instead of mixing 10 ounces in one cup, I did 8 ounces in each of these cups. And I knew I wanted more resin anyway, so this is a total of 16 ounces. And I just kind of go back and forth between mixing them, but it certainly made it a little bit easier. It's still a thick resin, and I didn't heat it up or anything like that, but it was much more doable, if you will. And as you can see, I have gloves this time. So shortly you're going to see, so I didn't have any more shower curtain liner. I didn't want to have to go out and buy more. I'm like, use what you have, Brianna. So I'm using plastic wrap. I don't recommend it. It turned out that the sculpture turned out beautiful, but plastic wrap, because it's so thin, it gets caught in between the folds of the resin, and it is a bear to get out. So avoid plastic wrap unless you have no other option. Okay, I put 1 drop of purple alcohol ink in each of the cups. That is something you did not see me do in the last segment of this video because I actually forgot to do it. But I believe, in my very novice experience here, and I'm not being sarcastic, I mean that, I believe that it will help battle against yellowing because I have purchased resin from let's just say a boutique online, and theirs is tinted purple. And I'm like, okay, I can do this myself. So anyway, I am obviously adding the erasers. I didn't do anything to them as far as like spray sealing them or Mod Podging over them. I could have to probably help the resin stick to the erasers a little bit better. You'll see in the end that the resin didn't perfectly stick. It's hard to describe, but I will show you when I do a close-up toward the end of the video. So I have the opal glitter in the resin that's in the center, and then I have the opal glitter with the added pastel glitter on the outer ring. And so I mixed the erasers in with the resin that also had the opal glitter in it, and I mixed them in really, really well so that each eraser is completely coated in resin. And then I'm just using a popsicle stick and probably sometimes my fingers to place the erasers, knowing that this bowl, or I should call it, it does look like a bowl, but knowing this outer portion of the sculpture is going to be like the middle of this pizza pan is going to be the bottom. So I made sure that the erasers were facing the correct way so that they would be mostly right side up as people are looking at it. I made sure that I spread out the colors relatively evenly. I wasn't going for any kind of pattern whatsoever. But yep, using some alcohol spritz and my heat gun to start to pop bubbles. And I decided that because I knew this was going to be dripping a little bit, I didn't want it to drip a ton. So I'm going to let this sit for longer than 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'll look it up and I'll tell you exactly how long I let this portion sit. I went ahead and I put more erasers in the pastel glitter area, just to kind of help give the sculpture a little bit more movement, or give the peeps a little bit more movement. One thing about the erasers is that they are only the bunnies. They did not have the chicks, but that doesn't matter as long as you use Peeps in some way, shape, or form. You don't even have to use real candy Peeps. Then you are good to go as far as the Peep Show is concerned. By the way, I didn't mention this, but you do have to apply and you have to pay a little fee up front to be in the show. I don't think they reject anybody, but hey, you never know. So I think when I used my heat gun multiple times on this portion to try and pop air bubbles, that probably pushed some of the resin off of the tops of the erasers. So I think that, combined with the fact that I'm assuming the erasers have some rubber in them or silicone, maybe, I didn't look at the ingredient list, but I'm thinking that probably repelled the resin somewhat, but it wasn't an issue in the end. All right, and what we're gonna do is take the sculpture that I had already made, and I'm putting a plastic planter pot on top of it. Yes, I know that that's weird, but at this stage I thought, oh, maybe I can actually make this into a planter with like soil and a plant. So I kind of wanted to have my options open, but you'll see in the end I obviously did not end up doing that, but used a level to make sure that this was going to sit flat, because the last thing I wanted was a sculpture that was really wonky. I already knew it was going to be wonky. I just wanted it to have a flat bottom so it could sit properly on the table. So again, I place it. I know that it's a little bit off center. I was okay with that. Just straightening out the plastic wrap, making sure nothing's terribly like overlapping on itself. But yeah, I let this sit and cure definitely overnight. I forget how long I left my camera on it. Oh, I wanted a little bit of, let's call it flair to this portion. So I took parchment paper, little pieces of it, and balled it up and then stuck it into, well, underneath the plastic wrap. So between the planter and the plastic wrap, just to give it some kind of extra waves and flare on the outside. All right, so a couple zaps with the heat gun. Again, not too high of heat, especially with that plastic wrap. You do not want to melt it or burn it. So it definitely dripped. It dripped exactly as I was hoping, you know, not terribly long, but definitely gave it some personality and some movement, exactly what I was looking for. All right, so I'm going to speed this way up, but it took me forever to get this plastic wrap out. Parts of it came out easily, but then other parts did not. And it got frustrating. So again, I don't recommend this. Later on, I think I show you, I use my vinyl weeding tool. My looks like a dental picker. I use that. I use tweezers to try and get the plastic wrap out. So I don't recommend it if you can avoid it. I think I just quickly showed you some of the gems that I was planning to use, but I did not use in this piece. So here we go. The shower curtain liner, you just have to kind of just tell it who's boss and it will listen to you. And the only things I'm kind of picking off right now are thin pieces of resin, not plastic. So I'm fitting the pieces together, just kind of twisting to see which way I like it. Toward the end of the video, I'll show you how I permanently adhere them together. So at first I wasn't thrilled with this. I just didn't love it. But I will say that as I worked on it and as I made other pieces that I will show you, this definitely grew on me and had the most personality, if you will. And I thought, you know, people are really this is gonna make people smile. I'm not looking to win the competition because I know the competition and I know I'm nowhere near the top, but I think that this will give people something to smile about, something they probably haven't seen before. I do think this is unique, so I'm proud of it myself. All right, and I'm getting ready to make the third and final piece. So I hated the plastic wrap so much that I was like, let's try a trash bag. Maybe it's a little bit thicker, maybe it'll work a little bit better. And the answer is no. I'm so stubborn. I should have just gone out and gotten another plastic shower curtain liner. I keep talking about it because I do love them so much. So again, I am mixing 8 ounces in each cup. So for a total of 16 ounces for this last portion. And I will again put 1 drop of the purple alcohol ink in here. I will put the opal glitter and then I will put the pastel glitter around the outer edge. So I let this sit for an hour and 15 minutes. That's it, folks. Pretty much the same environment as I've mentioned before. And boy, did it drip. It dripped right in front of my eyes. I knew what I was doing. Should I have let it sit for 30 minutes longer? Yes. But you know what? It is what it is. And I'm okay with it. So you may have been wondering what that was on top of the American flag tumbler on my mold. And folks, it's an Alani Nu energy drink can. And it's my favorite flavor as of recently, which is lime. And it's so delicious. This is in real time. All of that dripping that you see is in real time. Do not come after me, please, for wasted resin. I do end up saving the drip offs, if you will, the drips that I couldn't incorporate into the final piece, and I will use them on something, I promise. So this is the next day. It has cured for, again, I can't remember, but it was mostly cured. It still needed to sit another day or so on the mold, but what I wanted to do was get it off of the plastic bag as soon as I could, just to make it a little bit easier on myself before it completely hardened up. And then also some of the drips were just ridiculously long, so I had to kind of cut them off. And at this point, I wasn't sure that this piece would work. If I had the time, I probably would redo it and just let it sit in the pizza pan a little bit longer, but I ran out of time, and so I made it work. I was happy with it in the end, so all is well. I just love the personality of it when I sit it upright like that. And it just kind of leans over because it's not fully cured yet. All right, so we're going to do our best to remove the plastic trash bag. And again, I really struggled. And even in my final piece, like the piece that I submitted to the show, there are still pieces of white plastic trash bag within the sculpture. I don't think that the average person is going to even notice, but I know they're there. But man, I worked extra hard to get the pieces out as much as I possibly could at the last minute on the day that this was due. But again, in the future, you know exactly what I need to stock up on for Christmas next year. So please ignore the wreckage of the plastic trash bag in the background. I'll try to either repurpose that or recycle it. A portion of it did kind of tear, actually. I was like picking at it just then. A portion of it did tear, and I had the intention of fixing that with UV resin. However, when I went to piece everything back together with UV resin, the tear actually didn't matter at all. So it ended up not being a thing. But I do kind of pick at this a little bit just to get like the super stringy parts off, and anything that looked like super duper looper scraggly I picked off, but for the most part I tried to leave it alone. Oh, and here is the bowl slash sculpture that I made. I made it very similar to the outer portion of this sculpture, except I put crystal, or not crystal, I guess they're glass. No, they're not glass. Clear, that's the word I'm looking for. Clear little gems they're not beads, they're gems. They look like fake diamonds on the outer edge of that bowl, and I absolutely loved it. But anyway, there's the first two pieces put together. And actually at this stage of this whole process, I was like, should I enter the bowl into the show, or should I enter this drippy sculpture into the show? And I got my mom's opinion, and my mom voted for the sculpture, and I ended up agreeing with her anyway. But I was having a little bit of analysis paralysis at this stage in the game. So very shortly you'll see all three pieces together. All right, so I let that third piece, the middle piece that's really, really long, I let that sit on the mold upside down, curing for as long as I possibly could. I want to say several days, because I did not want it kind of flopping over, if you will, once it was stood upright. So this is the same day that I submitted the piece. I waited till the very last minute, just to give that third piece as much time to cure as I possibly could. But there were some sharp edges, and so this is a nail drill with like a long kind of skinny attachment to it, and it was perfect for filing those sharp edges. So I just kind of ran my finger around all the edges of each piece and just kind of felt for any sharp parts. I didn't want anybody touching this and getting hurt. And then this was also the stage where if I saw any remaining plastic wrap or trash bag, I picked that out with that picker there. And it was helpful. And I also did use tweezers, like I said. So the time has come to permanently adhere each of the pieces together for the sculpture. I'm using UV resin and a UV light. This is super easy and quick to do. I just made sure that all the debris was out of the bottom in particular. I decided where exactly I wanted the next piece to go. In my mind, I kind of wanted the highest pieces aligned together, but anyway. So you can see I just put approximately a quarter-sized bit of the UV resin on the bottom, and then put the other piece on top, and then just hovered my light for just a little bit to get it to stick, and I'm testing it. It's already firmed up, and then just to give it a complete cure, I have a little shelf thing. This is actually a double-sided, there's a second piece to this lamp that works really well, but clearly it wouldn't, the sculpture does not fit between the two, so it's apart right now. And I just let that finish curing for, I think I just did a full minute, and I will repeat the process for the third piece. Reminded me of ice at this stage, like icicles, or honestly, if I had held it upside down, probably a jellyfish. Really cool effect there. So here we are on my little balcony and trying to catch it in the natural light. I could not have my flash on because I had to, this is a 0.6 camera zoom. I don't know anything, guys. I'm just doing my best here, but I couldn't have my, there we go. As soon as I turned off the wider lens, I could have my flash on, which I think makes it look a little bit better. But anyway, here it is in its glory. So I hope this brings a smile to people's faces at the show. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.